is the first time I've been embarrassed of the theme tune, Simon.
What? Why?
I don't know. We'll find out
I love
soon.
our theme tune. I bop away to it every time. I think it's a bang. It's a free, publicly available banger. But yeah, it's Friday, Josh. We've got today getting back into the swing of things. We broke our cherry with Nathan Cowdery yesterday, and today let's just bring the guest on. Let's go. Let's pop them up.
Ready?
Let's get into it. Hit those buttons, Josh. Hey, it's Jacq Cohen from Fantagraphics.
Oh, hello. What a coincidence that you happen to be here too.
Yeah, this is crazy. Now, full disclosure to everybody, and this might be a bit for you, Jacq. Wife, you are married to me. Embarrassing for you, but we'll suffer through this.
Yes,
Fantagraphics.
Married for
9 years, going on 10.
Wow.
Yeah, it's crazy. Now, what is your title at Fantagraphics? It's been updated again. It's long. I forget. Terrible of me.
I'm the executive director of communication. So, but that's absolutely everything I do. It's just what the title is. The thing about titles at a small company is that they, if my title really represented what I do, it would take up several lines on a business card. So, my main job is publicity. But I also help. I'm like a de facto hiring manager. I am a de facto process manager, operations manager, and I kind of just keep things flowing through Fantagraphics as best I can when possible.
The glue of Fantagraphics.
Fingers in many pies, and keeping the old pirate ship running.
Yeah, I've been at Fantagraphics for 14 years. So being part of a company for so long, things just kind of flow into my direction because I'm capable of doing it. So that's how my position at Fantagraphics has grown over the years. Okay, great. Give it to Jacq.
And you were a dark horse, right?
Yeah, dark horse.
Yeah, so before Fantagraphics, I was at Dark Horse. I was there for about 3 years, and I was a publicity coordinator, which essentially is like a publicity assistant. And before that, I was at Top Shelf for about 2 years, and I started as an intern, and then I was moved up to publicist. So I've made my way around the comics publishers, but Fantagraphics was these other publishers were. I'm really appreciative of the experience that I was able to get, but what I wanted to do was be at Fantagraphics.
So how did you join this sick cult? I mean, you started working at a comic shop straight out of college, and you've just been trapped in this Scientology-esque cult for a long time.
It was actually. I was in school in Santa Cruz, California, and I needed a job, and I was just walking by the comic store, and I was like, yeah, that's what I want to do. And at the time I was 19 and I didn't know anything about comics. So I walked in and I was like, I want to know everything about this. And I don't know why. And I've been asked before, why comics? It's I don't know. I've always had this affinity to special needs broken animals, and I feel alternative comics and special needs animals I have a really similar plane.
I did some research. There's at Santa Cruz at the college, there's a mascot, right? A weird mascot.
Yeah, Santa Cruz mascot is a banana slug, which is a slug that's about between 9 and 12 inches long, and it's yellow, and it looks that's that if Santa Cruz had sports teams, I guess that's what would be the mascot, but we didn't have any sports. It was just
you didn't meet that guy, that banana slug guy there.
Well, I mean, we were in the same reading group, but who wasn't? We did mushrooms together once in the forest, but whatever.
What's the difference between a big company like Dark Horse, releasing a bunch of books, and then the Fanta season, like what's like, what is like Fanta? Is it easier because it's kind of a smaller thing, or is it, you know, what's different there?
It's like, it's completely different.
All right.
I thought I could handle my trail mix. I had, you know, a couple handfuls as I was drawing, a couple handfuls turns into lunch and breakfast, and yeah, I feel like shit again.
What are you doing? Stop chain eating nuts.
It's not the nuts though, it's those chocolate raisins in the nuts, which makes it more difficult to start.
That's how they get you. It's like little fentanyl tablets mixed in throughout it. It's just so Moorish.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, that's terrible.
Josh, what's up with your eye twitch? A little bit more manageable today. All right. Okay, we may have Jacq back.
All right.
Okay.
All right.
Internet.
Okay.
Why?
You were talking about the difference between like Dark Horse and Fantagraphics. Like Dark Horse, you were working with like Joss Whedon, like directly on the Buffy stuff. Weren't you like a continuity editor on the Buffy comics?
So, yeah, at Dark Horse. Wait, can you hear me? I think we're.
Yeah.
Okay. Dark Horse. To go back to what I was saying, Dark Horse is, at the time, was much more fun comics. So these pamphlet series comics that were coming out on a monthly basis, to Fantagraphics, which is mostly focused on. Did you guys?
You are breaking up a bit. The reception's not the greatest. Fucking hell. It's weird because Cowdrey came in fine yesterday, actually.
Yeah, but you seem fine now.
Okay, I have a lot of windows closed.
Oh, that's what it'd be. You're famous for having all your windows open.
All the
I actually found this. Look at this. I found this amusing photo of Jacq at her old house. She's using 2 laptops at once. Look at that. She's working on 2 laptops, and she's probably got like 50 windows open on each laptop. That's the professionalism of Jacq Cohen. But then she's unprofessionally full. Nuts. You can say there's chocolate and berries in there all you want, but it's predominantly nuts, Josh.
Yeah. Jacq, you seem to be back.
I'm closing like tabs. So okay, so Dark Horse was predominantly monthly comics, and Fantagraphics is like full-length graphic novels that come out, you know, like once. It's not like usually a series of books. So it's just really different promoting books in that manner. And Dark Horse does a lot of books. Fantagraphics does too, but in a very different way because of the Fantagraphics doesn't work schedule like that. And Dark Horse is a much more corporate company. Their focus at the time, especially, I don't know now, was to publish books that would ultimately be turned into movies or TV shows. So the goal of a successful comic for them was something that could be sold to another medium. And Fantagraphics, as you both know, as people who are published by Fantagraphics, the point of the book is to exist as a book, and that's it. The end game of the is the object itself. So the approach is different.
Yeah, and I guess a book has a longer, literally like a longer shelf life, right? It's like these monthlies are designed to be, you know, forgotten by the time the next issue comes out. But these books, you know, you could still be promoting a book 6 months after, right? 6 months after it's out, or
not really 6 months.
Yeah, it's like an eight window or something, isn't it?
So with publicity, which is different from other forms of promotion, marketing and publicity and sales and branding and communications, they're all different things. With publicity, the publicity window for a book is usually 2 weeks or so before it comes out, and then 2 to 3 weeks sometimes after it releases. And that's for mainstream press. For long lead press that is more focused on like industry press, like Publishers Weekly or Booklist or Library Journal, that cater to book buyers, people who are buying books for library markets or buying books for their bookstore chains or academia or anything that's not direct to consumer. That tends to have they'll publish a review like 3, 4, 5 months before a book comes out. But the mainstream things that like most consumers, like, you know, your Jane Smith and your John Doe, that to like see what new books are coming out, that's typically you get approximately 6 weeks, sometimes 8. And
it's a tight window.
It is a tight window. And that being said, there's a lot of infrastructure on my end that goes into setting up a book to have the foundation for success. And there's months and months in planning and work and pitching and outreach that go into making sure that we can get publicity within that short window. So that's the window that the press comes out, but the itself is sometimes years in the making.
And things have changed a lot since you started. Sorry, Josh, like 2009 or something, you must have started at Fanta roughly. And like back then there were more alt weeklies. So like the AV Club had a dedicated, like, you know, alternative comics write-up section. Is it Noel Murray doing it, or?
Oh, Noel Murray, he's the best.
It's sort of, it's changed. Like the landscape have really changed in the last decade and a half.
Yeah, in the last 15 years, I could say that I've watched websites, entertainment websites, even like mainstream news, Times, the Washington Post, pull away from talking about comics and then focus on other things, especially comics that have movie or TV show tie-ins or YA. YA is dominating a lot of the press, but even that, there's less and less press. So we've found that social media tends to be one of the stronger tools that we have for getting recognition for a book, getting like finding the audience for a book, which is why I always try to encourage like burgeoning cartoonists, you know, newer cartoonists who are coming onto the scene. As much as it sucks to like put a lot of time into social media, that's this tool to building an audience.
Yeah, I think that like I specifically remember Boing Boing having a big tie-in with the modern cartoonist Cloud's book at the time. There was like competitions, and they were like constantly posting about that book.
Boing Boing is a great website.
They serialized Hip Hop Family Tree. Oh, just go on, but yeah.
I actually a modern cartoonist that was Abrams, but that's okay. But it's a great site. Brownfelder, who runs it, is lifelong comics fan, has always been supportive. There's just less comics coverage on their site. I don't know all the reasons why, and they still do talk about comics. They did a big thing on Love and Rockets. They always support Drew Friedman and Jim Woodring when they have new books coming out. So it's not like they've gone away, but I'm assuming that their slates are busy and they just don't prioritize comics like they used to. Because they used to write about like almost every Fantagraphics book that would come out. Like I would send it to them and they would write about it. And that hasn't been the case in many, many years.
Yeah, there seems to be a lot of journalists moving away from certain places, and the new ones coming in kind of aren't as comic savvy or, you know, liking comics as much. Yeah, it's a challenging time to market comics in this day and age. Like, you know, Josh and I try and be savvy. Like, you know, we're trying to be YouTube dickheads right now. We're all over the Instagram. We're, you know, promoting, like trying to get our friends, you know, hyped up, and we're all up and just trying to play that social media game.
Yeah, and that's like a way that cartoonists, like the best way that cartoonists can help themselves is to create a strong social media presence and maintain that in order to continually grow their audience. Because the reality is, like, there just is less opportunity for media coverage. And this is something that like keeps me up at night. Like, you know, it's like I wake up in cold sweats because of this. Like, people have jobs, and Fantagraphics is my job, but it's also like my life. Like, so it's not like I close my computer at the end of the day and I'm like, okay, done. I don't care about my job anymore, and I clock off. It's like it's constantly thinking about ways that, you know, I can find an audience for a book, understanding that most cartoonists are spending, you know, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, or 8 years working on their book. And that's a lot of years to put on page. And it's my responsibility to sell that.
Yeah, I can attest to that as the person who lives with you and sleeps in the same bed as you. You do wake up at night like, fuck, like, yeah, you do get very personally invested with these cartoons, and you really want to, you know, you really try and do a good job on these books, and it's tough when, yeah, you're just hitting your head against a wall sometimes.
Yeah, and I've experienced that with your book, Simon. Like, you know, like,
yeah.
like I'll have these freakouts. It's like, did I get to do a good job on your book? Like, did your book get enough press? Like, I think I asked you last week if you thought Bad Gate press, and Bad Way came out like 3 years ago.
2019.
So,
I got the sense people kind of snubbed Bad Gateway, I thought, a little bit, but then I was on TV. I think it was written up somewhere by AV Club or something, a few other. Yeah, I think that was. I don't blame you. I blame myself. Like, if my books don't get much coverage, I'm like, well, I need to make a better book. You know, you can't sell a turd. You know, you can only shine a turd up so much.
but that's the thing, is like there are so many books that are really fantastic that don't get the coverage that I wish they did. I'm not going to mention them because I don't want to like make anybody feel bad about their book. But there are certain books that's like, this book is so good. Like, and I've pitched it to every single journalist. Like, how are people not picking this up? How are they not gravitating towards it?
It comes down to the personal taste of the journalists and stuff, and just, you know,
it's not even just the journalists. So like the way things work for media, and most people probably don't understand this, is usually the people who are writing about comics are not the editor-in-chief of the New York Times Book Review. Like, that's not who's writing about the comics. It's a freelancer who is pitching to that editor, or it's a staff member who isn't quite that senior who is pitching to their editor. It's not just about the taste of the journalist, it's about the taste of the editor who is giving editorial space in a newspaper for this journalist to write about it, whatever book they're going to talk about.
So there's really there's like 2 massive steps of people having to say yes, like the first person to write about it, and then saying, yeah, you can write about it. That's like.
So I'll give you an example that I feel comfortable like I can talk about. Because I usually don't like to talk too much about specific examples. Because again, I don't want to give too many secrets about a certain person's book out there. I don't think it's respectful to a person's book.
It's not professional.
But this book that I'm working on.
Out on Tuesday.
Out on Tuesday, October 3rd. I was Dan Clowes lives in the Bay Area, and so I was talking to the San Francisco Chronicle, which is the newspaper that covers the Bay Area, and I was talking to a freelancer who was pitching to his editor, and that editor had to pitch to her senior editor. So there was like several different levels, and like this freelancer really wanted to do it, big fan. Like the interview, it ended up happening. I should say that it happened. It's going to publish probably this weekend, or actually next weekend. But there's so many different people that has to go through, and that's just what I know of. Who knows how many more people between editors that this freelancer is talking to that has to go through in order to get the coverage. So I'm
just a sperm, like thousands of sperm going through a dark to find the, surrounded by wild sperm and like manga sperm, and just this one little damn sperm just trying to get to this egg.
It's a disgusting way of saying it, but yes.
Yeah. I'm a disgusting guy.
Well, so yeah, there's so many different gatekeepers, and you know, people online say that Fantagraphics is like this gate, like Oh, buddies, you have no idea how many people are actual gatekeepers that actually have power, unlike us, who are literally struggling in the exact same trenches that you're struggling, trying to get some sort of recognition for our books. Yeah, we're not the enemy. We are on the same here. So yeah, there's a lot to battle through. And then there's, not just battling for space, but also battling against other publishers. And, like, who else has a book coming out might take coverage away from my book.
Something I was interested in, like, so it seems like, you'd think like Simon being on morning television for Bad Gateway, you'd think like that's, big television show, big deal. But is it like, does that translate to sales the same way something like Boing Boing, like a smaller thing that's focused on, but like you're more likely to get comics readers reading Boing Boing, right? Like, yeah, does that translate like a massive, like a big TV thing? Like
it's hard to measure that, and something like a regional, like Simon was on TV for the Pacific Northwest morning news show called New Day Northwest, which was the NBC affiliate in the Seattle area where he was living at the time, or I guess we were living at the time. And part of that was to promote his book, and the other part of it was to promote a museum exhibition he was doing with the Bellevue Art in 2019. So I think that local press great for getting people to your event. There are a lot more steps to getting somebody to put their money where their mouth is and buy a book. Something like Boing Boing is a tailored audience. People who go to that website are already interested in like alternative culture, geek culture, or whatever specific subgenre this one comic might fit into. Mainstream press, like a news organization, is more so what I would call branding. And what you want is people to see the cover of the book, and it's like those Coca-Cola ads where like you see the billboards, and all of a sudden, like after seeing billboards, you're like, damn, I really want a Coca-Cola. It's like that's kind of the same thing we're doing when we put people on TV. And when you get them to have local press, it's like, so like you're seeing this cover flash in front of your face so many times that once you are in a place like a store, or you're on Amazon and you see it pop up, you're like, I know that thing. I've heard of it. I want that. Yeah, it's more so for repetition. I don't know how much it necessarily translates to sales, and that's a really difficult metric to measure.
Yeah.
I imagine it's a low conversion rate. Like I look at my Instagram analytics and say like 10,000 people have seen my post, and it's got a good amount of likes. And then I look at like website taps. So the people that have gone to my link tree to have a look, and off of like 10,000 views, people clicked on the link. And then from there, what percentage of those people will actually buy a book? Like you got to go through several taps to get to the place to buy. It's zero. Like, I don't know.
Yeah, and there are metrics for measuring like success of like a specific piece, but they're not perfect, because there really is no way to know what brought somebody to Amazon or what brought some bookstore to buy a book. It's sometimes you can follow the path. They click a direct link to the Orker article, then you could see it. But there's not always that trail that you can follow. So yeah, it's a hard metric, which is another reason why I think a lot of publicists get frustrated, because like the metrics for success in publicity are sometimes intangible. Another way is like if you look at like a magazine, and then like you open the magazine, it's like, okay, like Tommy Parrish got like a full page in the New York, how do I do this? A full page in the New York Review of Books. So it's like, how much how much does an advertisement cost in New York Review of Books? So let's say like to buy a full page ad in the New York Review costs like $20,000. So that means that I can assign like, okay, this piece of press is worth $20,000 essentially. That's like another metric of way that you can measure success sometimes with publicity. But again, it's not like a for one. That's a lot of insider baseball. I don't know if your Mega Chat people are going to really care about this. They're like, this is so boring.
It's interesting, for young cartoonists who want to get involved in publishing, who want to themselves and get to the point that they can be promoted by you to libraries and the press. Like, it's interesting, it'd interest me. When I was a young cartoonist, I would have been all over this shit. You have to be. Young cartoonists need to be savvy. They need to work themselves as well. You can't just expect magic and just like, oh, I'll magically get published and Jacq Cohen or whoever will just sell my book in mass. Like, you kind of have to work in tandem. You have to do your part too.
But that happens sometimes. Like, and that's the thing that I feel like people get really hung up on is like sometimes a debut cartoonist who had very little social media following, whose book is great, will hit that stride for reasons that I wish I could understand why, cartoonist A versus cartoonist B was a success. But like, for example, I published a book, Ephemera, by this debut cartoonist named Brianna Lowenson. And we just weren't sure how the public would receive it because it's a beautiful book. It's largely wordless. And that could be challenging for certain literary comics readers who are used to reading a lot of text. It's a tough story about a mother, a daughter with her very strained relationship with her mother. And the book sold out within a few months. And we got incredible press for it. And it was rave reviews. And it's like, great. It's like, oh, thank God, like this book that like this person put 8 years of work into found the success. And like, but it's not like, okay, I can take that formula and then apply it to another book by a different cartoonist and we'll have the same results. Like, there just isn't a like mathematical like solution to what the public and the press will find a taste for.
Yeah, you just can't tell sometimes. Like, I wouldn't have predicted that Brianna Lowenson's book would be a breakout hit. But it did. Over other Fantagraphics books. But very lovely, Brianna Lowenson. Josh and I did a few panels with her at Comic-Con. She was an absolute sweetheart, really lovely and very funny. Like, her book's quite serious, as you said, and serious matter, but very funny. As a lot of more serious artists are, they just behind the scenes they're hilarious. But good for her, and it just took off. I don't know, just like a snowball rolling down a hill.
Part of it was like early on, I was able to get like these kind of tastemakery journalists to write about it, and then other people wanted to write about it from there. But I can't predict which books I pitch to these people are going to take. And I pitch most of them, not all, but most of them to these people, and sometimes they take and sometimes they don't.
You're pitching hundreds of journalists. Like, you're using Muckrack or something, this software like professional publicity. Oh, sorry. We can edit that out is that bad?
We don't need to talk about what proprietary software I use to find.
It's just interesting, but it fascinates me. The level of journalists. The level of emails you're sending out. It's crazy. But,
I use a PR now, and that was only in the last year that I started using this PR software. For years, I didn't have any software, and I was just like spending hours and hours like Googling like keyword literary graphic novel and seeing anybody and everybody who wrote about graphic novel on Google, and like up to like 15 pages worth, and like finding email like people's names and then their Twitters and looking through their Twitters and see if I got an email address, or like using like their Twitter handle @gmail.com to see if that was their email address. And like it was like this battle, and I did that 13 and a half years up until about 6 months ago when I started using this PR software that's been very helpful. But
I remember you were like a detective. You were like trying to crack the email addresses and like just like pounding the pavement, trying to just anyways. Yeah.
But now it's to the point where like it's like I understand how like spies work. It's like I can find like an email address. Like you give me a name and I will like 80% certainty find an email address.
Yeah, we should open like a private detective side hustle or something. Like,
So
too many side hustles.
What are like some of the things that you see, like cartoonists, you know, ones who they're not being published, you know, smaller cartoonists, what are the things they can be doing that you don't see people doing, you know, to promote themselves and like get their stuff get written about and get like talked about?
Yeah, tips for the youth.
I think that younger cartoon, or when I say younger, I don't want to say age. I feel like newer cartoonists, I should say, like people who are self-publishing. It's like if you see somebody writing about comics anywhere, their name like a byline, which on an article about a comic is somewhat similar to yours, reach out to them. Again, like find their Twitter, follow them on Twitter, or sorry, X. Find their X.
Find their X. X marks the spot.
I don't know what the
terrible branding. Terrible branding. Big mistake on their part over there. Anyway.
It's really bad branding. I would never do that. But you know, find their online profile, follow them, and try to connect with them. If you find their email addresses, sleuth their email address. Reach out to them and be like, "Hi, I saw you wrote about, you know, Simon Hanselmann's new book. Like, I also do books about, you know, sad drug addicted people who are trying to reach poverty. Like you should check out my stuff. Here's a new comic I just published. Like, let me know if you want me to send you a copy, and then keep in touch with them." You know, I don't journalists would be super happy about me telling, you know, troves of people to go contact them, but how many people are actually watching this manga chat right now?
We get more viewers when it's uploaded later. I don't know how many cartoonists though.
But that's the thing. It's like, you know, like again, like to go back to that criticism that Fantagraphics gets of being like a gatekeeper or something. It's like there's no gatekeeping here. Like I'm like just reaching out to journalists and like telling them about the books that I'm promoting. Like there's no reason that an artist can't reach out to a journalist. Hey, I'm working on this book. Like, do you want to get a copy and look at it? And maybe they won't write about it, but maybe they'll write about a topic similar to that and say, like, you know, I remember that woman reached out to me and she said that she did a comic about, like, you know, the opioid crisis, and I'm actually writing an article about the opioid crisis. I'm going to read if I incorporate some of whatever she wrote into this. Like, there's no reason that you can't just continually get on people's radar, because you never know what they're going to be writing in the future and how that can pop up somewhere in down the line in what they're working on.
Yeah.
So just stalk journalists online. We got that. So everyone.
I mean, I do that.
That's
what I do. Like, I literally will like not stalk like someone's personal life, but like professionally stalk what they're writing about, because then it also gives me an opportunity to know who's writing about what. If someone's writing about sci-fi, I'm not going to pitch them a memoir comic. If someone's writing about memoir, I'm not going to pitch them Dan Clowes' new book. It's just like, you know, people have specific interests. Know what those interests are and figure out if your stuff fits, and if it does, reach out. One thing I always tell my cartoonists is a book never suffers from too much promotion. So if you're working with a publisher, make sure you coordinate so you're not kind of overloading one journalist if your publicist is already reaching out to them. But if you are publishing, like, there's no reason you can't be proactive in building a relationship with a high profile journalist that might potentially incorporate some article that they're writing.
Yeah, online stalking. You heard it here, kids. Get out there and stalk these journalists. You got to hustle.
Professionally stalk. Don't stalk their personal lives, but like, there's no reason. Like, if someone's a journalist, they want people to read their writing. And if you say, I read your article, it's like, oh, hey, like, a journalist is going to feel the same way as if somebody reached out to you, Josh, and was like, hey, I read like the newest Hedward and I loved it. And like, it's like, it's like you're writing things so people will read them. Journalists are writing things so people will read them.
Yeah. I'm going to read
who's
just calling people dickheads on Twitter because it's not working for me.
I was just wondering who's more desperate, the new cartoonists or the comics journalists. I mean, this cycle of just desperate people. Oh.
Comics is a hard business. Comics is difficult because the market is small, and the love that people who are in comics have is people like when these Twitter like fights going on, and like, you know, these people get in these like horrible angry arguments about X or Y. It's like what we're seeing is like people who have big feelings and big love for comics, and you see that in other mediums, of course, but I feel like comics is just like there's so much passion that's why you see so much anger. Anger is just like the other side of love, you know. Like people just love it.
It's a strange little medium. You know, if it's an odd industry, you know, and it's a small industry that's always sort of struggling, you know. Even like when Marvel went bankrupt in the 90s, like even the big like mainstream industry, it's always gone through so many changes and evolutions, and you know, it's struggling right now. You know, Fantagraphics 50 years now, independent.
40, always independent, 48 years.
40, almost 50 years. That's insane, and it's just Gary Groth is still at the helm.
Yeah. Kim passed, and so it's just Gary and Eric. I mean, Eric's been there for 30 something. Like Eric is. Yeah,
and now you've been there like almost 15, and you know, like a third of the company's life almost.
Yeah. I guess so. Yeah.
We have a question.
It's Craftmaster Zach.
So what do people see this, or do I have to read it out loud?
Yeah, they see it. I'll read it if anyone's, for any blind viewers. I want to know what the dominance of manga in the comics market, and if it helps or hinders smaller traditional comics publishers.
Rising tides floats. So if more people are reading manga, like there's like a bigger chance that those people will transition into you know, English language or original graphic novels that are not Japanese language translations, than somebody who isn't reading manga, and especially younger kids who grew up on manga. Those kids grow up comics literate. Reading, the act of reading comics is something you have to learn. It's not intrinsic. So if people are reading manga, and there's a lot more people reading manga, like I'll take that trickle down, you know. And we publish manga, and Fantagraphics is recently partnered with Manga, which is run by Deb Aoki, Christopher Butcher, Woodrow Butcher, and Andrew Woodward Butcher. Yes. And they're more manga that we're publishing, and we're partnering with them because they are tastemakers, and we trust their taste. And that's what we need. Like, you know, Fantagraphics has a pretty good pulse when it comes to European and South American comics, but we don't have quite the same like state of Japanese comics, or manga. So that's why we're really happy to be working with them. But yeah, to answer that person's question, it's great.
Do those like that Okinawa book? Do they get put like in a Barnes and Noble? Are they getting put with like which section are they getting put in? Like with all that manga that's like way on the other side, or is that with like the other Fanta books?
So in the metadata, which is the information about a book that goes into the back end system that booksellers and librarians use to know where to shelve something, we put manga. Okay. But we also put literary comics. So that the book has the opportunity to be in both places. But for Okinawa, the hope is that the again, I'm trying to explain what metadata is with the like the back end information that we put about the book into the system that these booksellers are using. That it's going to go into the manga section.
Yeah,
market coding.
I'm always like a little skeptical that that manga section that, you know, it looks so different from like the American comics. I'm always skeptical that it does trickle down to sales from that. But I mean, I guess like, you know, if something has Fantagraphics on the spine, like, you know, a Fantagraphics book, then I can see it like trickling down that way.
I feel like it's less about people who are in a store browsing, who are just gonna like, who are there to shop for manga, are gonna happen upon like a non-manga comic. I feel like it's more people who are reading manga are interested in manga, and they're gonna be reading about manga, and a website that writes about manga might also be writing about American comics or translation English language comics, and they'll find out about it because it's within the periphery of the thing that they're interested in.
So
just like how like what?
Yeah, go on.
just like how like, you know, it's interested in like Dan Clowes, it might like be looking at something about Dan Clowes, but in the periphery see something about Josh Pettinger and be like, oh, you know what, this aligns with some of the tastes that I have about Dan Clowes. I'm gonna check this out also because I love. Or, you know, somebody who likes burgers might be at a restaurant that has burgers and be like, you know, it actually looks pretty good too. I'm gonna try that. Like, it's just like it's in the periphery of the site that they have. So
yeah,
it's just such a low likelihood. Like someone's buying One Piece, some like kid, and like just so difficult to even get them to just check out like, you know, Suge or something, like, you know. And then the idea of them actually finding their way to something like Reggae Validson, like it's just possible, like, you know.
but it's not though, because they are similar in there are through lines between all those things.
Because I'm thinking about like when I was like growing up, like into punk music, the way I discovered other bands was bands on that label or like the bands that they thanked in the liner notes. So if like fans is putting out manga, then they might check out Monica, you know, and then they'll check out Simon. That
it's possible, but yeah, I don't know. It's such a crapshoot, and we just have to stay hopeful. I mean, you know, I'm hopeful. You know.
Yeah, you know, like when Abrams has a book that comes out and it's really successful, like I'm not mad about that. I'm happy because it's going to bring more people into literary comics. It's like, oh, good. Like they might be a competitor publisher in certain ways, but we're all on the same team. Like we're all fighting for the same good. That's why we don't have animosity with them. You know, it's like when we see Charlie Kochman, who is the editor-in-chief of Abrams Comics, it's like, we're in there. So yeah, again, it's like it's good. What's good for one book is a ripple effect on other books.
Yeah, a rising tide lifts all boats, as I was saying the other day.
Yeah.
Hopefully, but, you know, come onto our ship boat. Come onto the sinking ship that's Fantagraphics. Come on, we're a bit leaky. Come on, we've got Tedwood, we've got Megan Mold.
We're not sinking. We're doing great.
Oh, I know. I just make my.
We have some big books coming out. I mean, Monica is going to be really.
Yeah, Monica's going to be huge. It's a great book. Yeah, some good ammunition there for the old journalists. That's like cat. Yeah. Dan's out on tour right now. He's at CXC, and you are heading over to do a big event at the Strand in New York next week, and he'll be at Partners in Philly.
Yep, and then he'll be at Green Apple Books in San Francisco, and then Skylight Books in Los Angeles, Fantagraphics Bookstore in Seattle, and Powell's Books in Portland.
Yeah.
So
come on out to those events, everyone.
Yeah,
pick up me and Josh's book while you're there. Pick up other Fantagraphics books. Get your Okinawa, get your Brianna Lowenson, get all of them. Trickle down. Come on. Well, should we take a few audience questions then, and then we might want to let you go, Jacq. You've probably got work to do. You're quite busy, right? I know for a fact that you are spinning a lot of plates right now, and quite busy working on a lot of different books and things, a lot of corporate intrigue.
So
any
I'm
good
checking
questions,
out,
Josh?
you can pick questions, Simon, because there's some, just make sure I don't click on the wrong one.
Well, there's probably some dodgy ones here. Yeah, I don't know. This is a bit insulting.
to me?
No, it's
No, just about Fantagraphics or whatever.
Go ahead. I want to see the
This
insulting
one.
ones. Try.
Interesting.
Someone saying, Jack, what's your opinion of Below Ambition? you didn't finish it. I don't think you enjoyed that one too much, did you?
I like Below Ambition. I read the whole thing. I didn't listen to the music because I don't like Simon's music very much. But
it's terrible, isn't it? You used to do punk music stuff as well. You used to do a lot of gig organizing, punk organizing. So you worked with real musicians like Suicidal Tendencies and like proficient punk bands, AFI or whatever. So my music's awful. It's outside of shitcore. So I understand why you have no respect for it, and I respect that opinion.
But I did like Below Ambition more than I liked Werewolf Jones. Sorry, Josh.
Really?
Nothing to do with
that. You just don't like Werewolf Jones, and I respect that as well. It's a bit too much Werewolf Jones recently. Need to get a bit more witchy, a bit more owlish. I'm saying here, this is something that looks vaguely interesting. Yeah, are podcasts are good for comics marketing? Do you find you're booking people on podcasts sometimes?
I do
or are
some
they
podcasts.
shit?
The problem with podcasts for me is I don't know much about them, and so absent in my repertoire of what I know about media. There are some really great podcasts. I find that podcasts tend to have a really good rate of return, meaning somebody who does a podcast, you can see the sales go up on Amazon pretty quickly, after the podcast airs. So because podcasts are so focused on specific topics, while an audience for a podcast might be smaller, it is targeted. It is what people are interested in. So yeah, podcasts are still a good avenue for comics publicity.
I think that's why we're doing this YouTube. Like Kayfabe's doing amazing. Noah's channel is really great.
Kayfabe is amazing in the sense that as soon as something is shown on Kayfabe, we see our website and Amazon numbers go up immediately.
The Kayfabe effect.
It's true. It really, really, really is true.
Yeah.
But it's a really dedicated and niche audience that is our audience. So yeah, thank you, Ed and Jim. And maybe I'll say that about you guys.
Well, Jack, I've been talking about YouTube for years, since before Kayfabe, before Noah. I was urging Fantagraphics to get on it and just saying you have to use this new technology because everyone's on their phones and everyone's listening to podcasts. You have to do it. You have to get your finger in every pie down the avenue. So I'm finally got my shit together, and this may suck. I mean, Josh and I are going to slowly build this, but we have big plans and genuine intentions to just grow the scene. You can't sit by and just hope that everything works out and that the comics just get more popular. You have to actively. That's what I believe. I'm trying to actively affect change and get more people to read Reggae Validson books and fucking Floyd Tangerman books. Just.
Yeah. I mean, even non-comics podcasts. I was listening to the Klaus KQED or whatever that was yesterday.
KQED interview, yeah.
And so I think non-comic specific. I mean, doing a comics podcast is just preaching to an existing audience who are gonna,
But that's good because that existing audience is, and I think what this person is saying here, that 7 o'clock comics podcast that this person listens to, a big 2 in Image, and that's where they heard about Simon. So it's with this person is saying is those big podcasts are perfect avenues. Again, I was saying with manga, it's they are already interested in comics. They already have the language to read comics and talk about them. So it's not a far jump for them to go from something like Image to something like Fantagraphics.
Yeah, their wallets are lying there kind of half open. It's easy for me and Josh to come in and just take a bit of money out of their wallet. We can get them. They're primed up.
I mean, how do we get people who are like sick of Marvel and DC? How do we get them? Like, that's the thing I see so much is, you know, they're all fatigued of those kind of comics. But
I know that's the question. If I knew that, Josh, then I think that we'd be selling a lot more Fantagraphics books.
I think Ed and Jim do a good job of that. I mean, you know.
Yeah. Not enough. I wish they talked more about the weird stuff. But
yeah, I think that that's why, like, you know, I work with like comics websites. You know, like I try to get stuff on the beat that runs. CBR, Dustin Holland is amazing at writing about
we love Dustin.
Comics over there. Yeah.
We love Dustin.
So it's like it's just a matter of like trying to exist in the space where these people are hanging out and hoping that like, you know, like again that same thing, like, oh, if they see the cover of Monica over and over and over again on all these different websites that they're going to, maybe they will like see it in bookstore and be like, hey, I know that, I'm gonna pick it up.
So there's probably never been more competition in terms of comics, like, and noise and just different types of like warring factions and different genres of comics. Like, as someone coming in cold, oh, comics, graphic novels, I've heard about this shit. Like, you know, it's to battle through the YA, the manga, the superhero stuff, the alternative stuff. Many different. These umbrellas are so loose. Like, there's so many factions within those. You know, yeah, overwhelming.
We didn't have as much competition when I first started Fantagraphics. There were other publishers who were doing adult graphic novels. You know, Pantheon had been around for a while, and they had been publishing mostly Fantagraphics cartoonists on their imprint. You know, and of course, Drawn Quarterly has been around for a long time. You know, I call them like our Canadian cousins. Like, you know, I think we're simpatico in a lot of ways. But there weren't like that many publishers. And now it seems like every single mainstream publishing house has a graphic novel wing, mostly for YA, but sometimes with and the YA stuff is like that fight that we had for so many years trying to convince people that comics weren't just for kids anymore.
Yeah.
That was the thing. Like through old Love and Rockets publicity for the big 40th anniversary Love and Rockets book that we put together. And in the 80s and into the early 90s, so much of the press about Love and Rockets was like, hey, comics aren't for kids anymore. It's for like weird punk Latino, like gay people and stuff like that. And it was like, that was like the conversation about Love and Rockets was like, it was a comic book, but with adults, for adults. And it was like, that serious. Was the story.
Literally.
And then we got through that for like several, like, I don't know, almost 2 decades. We didn't have to fight to show that comics were for adults. We're back at that place again, where like comics aren't just YA anymore. Like, I'm really glad Raina Telgemeier found so much success because she really did work hard. She self-published, like she earned that where she is, and she's changed the definition of mainstream comics. I think almost single-handedly. Like, mainstream comics used to be Marvel and DC. Mainstream comics now are YA. That's what mainstream comics are. So now I'm fighting again against like comics aren't just for kids anymore. Comics aren't just YA. Comics are also for adults.
Okay, so how do we get children to read Mega Mug then?
I don't want to. Yeah, I don't want to get any angry phone calls from parents, Josh. Come on.
No, we are very clear that most of Fantagraphics books are only for adults. Do not give them to children, please.
Yeah, it doesn't bother me, the YA thing. Like, I see people like, YA, but it's like, again, going back to what you said, Jacq, like just comics literacy. These kids are going to grow older. They're all reading comics, YA, and they might buy our stuff. And if we keep making it and we make good product, Josh, if we make books that people want to read, they'll find them. Like, that's the core thing, I think. You got to make a good product that people want to engage with.
And I feel like that's part of what my job is. My job as somebody who works in publicity for comics is to try to find YA readers who are growing up and growing out of young adult and into adult books and be like, hey, Fantagraphics is here for you. Like, you have grown up on Raina Telgemeier and her ilk. We are here for the next step when you're ready to read books that deal with like the next phase of life or more mature or topics.
And I love people online Fantagraphics is like an edgy boys club, and it's all just a boys. But like Fantagraphics is like Lee Lai, Tommy Parrish, Brianna Lawrence, and Alex Graham. Like, you know, Kikoa Johnson. Like, there's just so many books. Like, that's what I love about Fantagraphics. You publish like a wide slate. Just someone coming in. Like, there's such a wide Technicolor world of so many different types of graphic novels. Something for everyone.
So all the people that like say that Fantagraphics is a boys club with this idea that they are being like virtuous are so unbelievably sexist in the fact that they are erasing not just the work that I have been doing for many decades. Christy Valenti has worked at Fantagraphics for 25 years. Like this editor at Fantagraphics and the Comic Journal who's been there for so long. Our art department is run by
Keely.
Who is Keely was
Kayla and C. I mean,
there's so many.
Laura and Emily.
Yeah, I'm not gonna like run off like and tokenize all the women that work at Fantagraphics because I think that their work is stronger than just their gender. But the people who want to sit there and say that Fantagraphics is a boys' club are unbelievably are sexist to the point that it is a spit in the face to all the hard work that we have been putting in as employees and all the cartoonists that we've been publishing. Erasing their fit into the narrative that Fantagraphics is a boys' club is I'm getting passionately angry right now.
Unproductive, I find. I usually just like, oh, I can't respect you as a journalist now, I mean, or like as a critic because you've said this, and like you clearly just have your blinkers on and some sort of personal vendetta.
Well, and like what's more sexist than erasing the work of women to fit your narrative? That is the thing you can do is to really erase these women's work. People like Carol Tyler who have been working for 50 years. Carol is a talent that deserves to be celebrated, and every time people say Fantagraphics is a boys' club is erasing a little bit more of the she has created as an artist. And sorry, I get really angry about this.
Now I'm just thinking about when all those pricks booed at SBX. Anyway, now I'm going to get pissed off.
But it's because and it's because it happens all the time. The narrative Fantagraphics being a boys' club has been happening for so long, and it's like, dare you diminish the work of all of these really, really talented and important cartoonists and all the hard work of all of these staff members who have been there for a long time working. Anyway, Fantagraphics is not a boys' club.
Yeah.
And if you
think Fantagraphics been around for 50 years. Yeah. Everyone, every company has their problems or whatever, and you can critique everything. But yeah, overall, I love Fantagraphics. It's a great publisher that publishes such a varied slate of incredible cartooning work, including me and John.
And I'll say this publicly, and I don't think I've actually never said this publicly before. When I worked at Dark Horse, I got paid less than my male counterpart who had worked there the exact same amount of time that I had because I was a woman. And at Fantagraphics, I have been treated equally in every capacity as an employee and a staff member. My complaints have been heard. My successes have been celebrated. And my gender had nothing to do with the quality of my work, and I never felt like that was even a part of the conversation I was having with Gary and Eric, my bosses, which was not the case when I was at Dark Horse or Top Shelf. Both of those companies, I experienced sexism. Never have I experienced that at Fantagraphics.
And 4 months paid maternity leave?
4 months paid maternity leave when I was pregnant, and
looks like the internet's playing up again. Disappear until I see if it works again. All right, internet down at the HANSELMANN household. Any questions? You guys can. Yeah, I'm still going strong, Wally Gropus. I'll bring them back as soon as it starts working again.
Hey.
Simon back?
So.
All right.
I'm back. All right, we dropped out for a second. Well, we should cut it off there.
Well, if there's any more questions, I do want to see what other people have to, like, what the public has to say.
Yeah. Put your questions in the comments. People are just Making fun of me for being trying to steer the ship myself again there. All right.
This Cycle Cleveland again, one of our famous viewers. Really dumb, but it's a better fit for a simplistic narrative to say even fans club. Yeah, you know, it is.
Thank you.
Thanks, Cycle Cleveland.
Thanks, Cycle Cleveland. Yes.
Yeah, a lot of complaining out there, but then, you know, people like to complain on X or whatever, formerly Twitter, and, you know, it's I complain about stuff. I mean, I shit talk people sometimes. I try not to. I mean, I try to, you know, it's not professional.
Do you try not to?
I do. I do try not to. I think I'm pretty good on social media. You know, when I see people denigrating me or like calling me a bully or whatever, I sort of, you know, like go and look at my Twitter, and like you scroll through for years and it's just me trying to like promote my friends, and like it's pretty rare that I'll make veiled, you know, sort of like criticisms against people, you know, but I generally don't like to drag people's names down in the mud. Like I just, you know, I don't know. People do that to me and it's not nice, so I generally try not. But, you know, there's a certain comics website. You know, we were railing against them for a while. But that's, you know, they said some shit about friends of mine. And I was kind of like, you know, fuck you guys. Like, you know, I'm gonna say you guys are shit then. You know, anyway. But yeah, it's best not to get involved in that kind of shit. You don't want to lower yourself down to these levels.
Jacq, are you involved in merchandise, and do you believe it helps publicity?
Mainly been driven by Lauren, who is one of my counterparts in the marketing department, because she is proactive in a way that I admire. And I don't know if it helps publicity, but it definitely is, like, you know, with the Love and Rockets Jaime Hernandez shirt that we did, that's the cover of Love and Rockets 14. We've sold hundreds of those, and it's just a walking billboard for that comic. And like Simon and I were out to dinner with our, like at like our local restaurant, and I saw somebody wearing one, and it was like, hey, hey, that's hey, hi. It's like seeing a friend. It's like, oh my gosh, hey, it's my friend. But I don't know if it helps publicity exactly, but it definitely helps promotion, and it's just a great way to turn people into advertisements for our books. And I think people love it. Like I love wearing I have a Jason shirt that Fantagraphics put out a little while ago. I wear it all the time. I love my Jim Woodring shirt. Like I feel like cool when I wear it. So so we are ramping up merchandising. We do want to make more shirts. And the reason we don't is not because we don't want to, it's because we are a limited staff and we do focus our attention on our books.
This person keeps asking Simon to go on the 11 o'clock comics with Vince, and I think this person is Vince because they've said it about 8 times in the comments.
I'll reach out. Let me get my notebook. I'll reach out to 11 o'clock comics and see if they'll be interested in talking to Simon.
Yeah, I mean,
what's this for?
That was that TV Hulu show. It's actually really good, but there's like, I think he's a big like Love and Rockets fan. The guy who created the show. He's like,
I think he's a comedian. I think his name is Chris Estrada, if my memory serves me correctly. He's a lovely human being. He's an incredibly funny comedian. This Fool is a really, really great show. I really recommend checking it out. And he wore 2 Love and Rocket shirts. He wore the Rooster Gilbert shirt, and he wore the Jaime shirt. Again, it goes back to what I was saying about the morning news. It's like having that image be on such a popular show with such a universally beloved comedian is nothing but helpful, because it reinforces the Love and Rockets brand, which has been cultivated for now 41 years. And I don't know if there's many people who dislike Love and Rockets. You can maybe not know much about it, or you can maybe not be interested in it particularly, but there's very few people who I don't like that Love and Rockets comic. It's just kind of universally accepted as a good comic.
Just that one person who was harassing Fantagraphics about Gilbert being a sexist a couple of weeks ago. Just wouldn't stop.
so uninformed about the Luba character. Somebody was harassing us saying that Luba was sexist. It's like by saying that again, it's like back to that sexism thing. Like it erases everything that you like about this character. Like you've no idea like how much Luba is so a developed person because of like her body type and like how that has informed everything about her life, and how Gilbert has explored that in so many different ways through like how she's aged. I mean, it is a beautifully written. Luba's a beautifully written character, but so amazingly complex. And part of her complexity comes from the fact that she looks the way she looks, and how that shaped her. And anyway, I love Luba.
Yeah, Love and Rocket. You know, they're good boys. Go out and get that massive box set. Was it like $500 for that big box set? That big.
It was 400, but yeah, it's the big box. It's big.
Well, it's 50 years of work.
There we go. I wrote that on a note. I'm going to contact that podcast for Cleveland.
For Cycle Cleveland. Yeah.
It's crazy when people complain. I saw it like when people complain about like that being like $400, whatever it was. Like you don't have to buy it. You already have all the books. You know that person already has all the books. The person complaining, but yeah.
There's no. I mean, paper costs a lot of money. Paper costs a lot of money to buy, print, and ship. And there's no way we could have charged less for that book because we had to pay Gilbert and Jaime both had to get a royalty. So, you know, that it costs what it costs because that's the world is expensive.
It's like 10 books or something in a big box. But yeah.
No, it's 4.
It's only 5. No, it's more than 4, isn't it?
10.
It's a big square.
No, 7?
Must be.
Oh, gosh, I don't remember
8,
anymore.
I think. I don't know, but it's a lot of books.
It's funny because last year, like that was like my whole life was the 40th anniversary of Roller Rockets, and like it took over everything. If the Zap box looks like to come, no, it will not. It will not come back in print. We printed what we printed, and that is it. And there is no more, and it will never be reprinted because there are a lot of different personalities in Zap, and they all have something to say about it. So no.
Yeah, that was a hardcore one. I remember that. That was like 10 years ago now, almost. Yeah, that was.
I just want us to have a segment now where people ask us if things are like coming back in print, and the answer is no for every single one.
Yeah, when's Crash Site coming back into print?
When we publish a new Nathan Cowdery book, we'll reprint Crash Site as well.
Yeah, I think that's the thing. Like the new Tommy Parrish book, Men I Trust. Did you do a print of The Lie and how we told it?
Yeah,
I think it's the thing. Yeah, it's like with the Joe Matt thing recently. Everyone was like, "Oh, his books are all out of print," like me included. But like Joe kind of needed to put out a new book to bring the old books into print. You kind of need an excuse to do a full reprint and like sell them and get them out there. You kind of you need to put out a new book, like
It's a technical question. How does it work when it comes to seeing purchasing power from interviews, articles, or other marketing ventures? I don't know what that means.
There are ways we can track where sales are coming from with specific online retailers like Amazon, but like and Amazon is the necessary evil that we all have to work with. Like it's like I bring them up because it's like they are big. What is Ghost World? We don't.
I think it's a joke. I think it's a joke because it's perpetually in print. I think it's just Wally Gropius being silly.
I like my heart stopped for a second and I was like, oh my god, is Ghost World out of print?
That's a serious one from Crapmaster Zach.
I have been trying. I'm going to talk to Dan on Monday when I'm at see him in New York, but probably not because he doesn't want to.
Really?
But not because we don't want to.
Really?
Yeah, of course we want to publish it. Of course we want to reprint it.
Well, there's money on the table, yeah.
I
it's also don't have a copy of the Manly World of. I have the thin Lloyd Llewellyn collection, but there's the big thick one that's been out of print for years. A bevy of material. But
yeah. Purchasing power. So there's not going back. Can't reprint it. No comment on that for now. But yeah, there are ways to track it for certain venues. On Fantagraphics, we can track it a little bit, but there's not usually a way to track it if someone's buying from an independent bookseller, which we encourage. Like, I encourage people to go to pals.com or elliotbay.com or or thestrand.com or bookshop.org and buy your books. Very much so, please.
Yeah. Secret Headquarters, Partners, Floating World, Desert Island, The Beguiling, all these stores. So, you know,
Yeah,
if you can,
Quimby's.
yeah, Quimby's. You know, if you can, if you've got one of these places in your city, you know, I don't know, they have a support system for everything.
Or buy online. If you're in UK, go to Gosh Comics, Travelers. What's that really, really great bookstore? Now I can't remember. I feel bad, but there's a really, really good bookstore in the UK.
There we go. One person. At least,
you?
yeah,
Are
it's just
you
me.
Cycle Cleveland?
I'm Cycle Cleveland. It's just me. I'm cycling. I am Cycle Cleveland. Yeah. Yeah, there we go. See, at least one person. There we go. It's working. Manga Chat is working. It's the Manga Chat effect.
Well, Simon can talk about any Fantagraphics book he wants because I get all the Fantagraphics books to the house, and yeah, if Ivan Bernetti would let us publish Schizo, we would definitely reprint it. But Ivan
he
doesn't
won't
want
let
us
you.
to, so
he might be scared.
Yeah, so
it is pretty
he's a
dicey
teacher.
work.
I understand, but
Ivan's such a sweetheart.
I would definitely love to do Schizo reprint. For years, I had like that big Schizo, like the big one. It's like
number 4.
I had that framed on my wall because I loved it so much. I just love that. Yeah,
it's original here.
Oh,
That's beautiful.
That. Wow, that's nice.
So big and beautiful. Wow.
Yeah, it's a nice original.
I have this, my little original on my desk from
Hensley.
So
Yeah,
nice. the Wally Gropius guy keeps on asking, or man or woman.
Yeah, Wally would love that. Tedward Pogs.
Josh. Okay, so Cycle Cleveland is Simon and Wally Gropius is just Josh.
Pseudonyms are under prudence.
We probably won't do Pogs, but we might do a shirt if Josh will let us. Depends on what's happening when his book comes out.
Well, you got to do a promotional item. I always do the promotional items. Like Kim Thompson started the FBI mini program, and now I'm the only person that does shit like that. And I stopped doing the mini comics, and we did like the pill bottles, stickers. We just did a zine. Josh and I, we did a zine on the last one, but it wasn't designated as an FBI mini.
No, we had to end the mini program because in 2022, I don't know if you remember this, but there was a lockdown and the office was closed down. And so all the FBI minis that we had, we were like printing and like stapling in the office. Chrissy Valenti was usually the one doing it, like literally like had long arm stapler and printing them and setting them down at the warehouse. And when the lockdown happened and there was no one in the office, Simon, if you remember this, I had to go to the office and pick up like stacks of the mini hex, and then I had to physically staple and fold them to bring them down to the warehouse to ship out with orders, and it was just too much for us to handle. We just don't have the resources to continue it.
And we did all those pill bottles for Seeds of the Stem, so it was
I did that sitting on the floor watching. What was that?
Bottles.
What?
Did you guys have to order the bottles yourself?
Yeah. I ordered. I found the wholesaler to buy the bottles from, and I printed the labels myself at the office printer, and then Simon and I watched a Julia Davis like miniseries, and I sat there and put them with stickers on and stuffed them in and closed them, and like I did all like 1,400 myself.
Wow, jeez, that's a lot.
So the Fantagraphics Underground imprint is like a micro imprint, meaning that the print runs are smaller than like a mass market book. Mass market book being like when Josh's book comes out, that's a mass market book, and it goes through all of our traditional distribution channels. Fantagraphics Underground books are books that we think are really amazing and we want to publish, but we know can't sell the levels necessary to hit the thresholds for all of our traditional distribution channels. So they're usually printed on a smaller scale. They're printed, they they used to be printed locally. Now we do print in China, and they're distributed slightly differently than our traditional Fantagraphics titles. They are available on Amazon through our book distributor Norton, and they are available through Diamond, but they're not necessarily going to be on the shelf of every bookstore, like at Barnes and Noble or Powell's. They're available.
I remember the
order.
genesis. Yeah, the genesis of it was like online direct sales through the website and at festivals, SPX or whatever, or Cake. You got them on the tables. And
originally we weren't going to have any distribution outside of Diamond. We were going to have bookstore distribution, and it was going to be like these really, really niche books, but we found that there were a demand for it. So that's when we made it available so bookstores like Powell's can order it. But it's not necessarily something that we're going to be actively pitching and marketing to those big bookstores.
Actually, a stepping stone in a way as well, like maybe younger or just like newer authors coming on and road testing them, the minor leagues or whatever, and then like, oh, this is done well and it was well received, and up to the major leagues or not really.
Kind of. So Daria Tesler is a great example. We published her first book through Fantagraphics Underground. They got written up in the New York Times, like because the journalists found it and really found it and really liked it, but we sold out faster than we expected. And then the next book we put out through Fantagraphics mainline title or mainline
vanilla
series.
Fantagraphics.
Yeah, it's standard.
Regular Fantagraphics original, Fantagraphics classic.
Yeah. So essentially it's books we want to publish. We believe are worthy of being in print. We believe in the book and believe in the artist. But we know we can't sell as many. Another example is we published a Richard Sala collection of illustrations before he passed away. And it was something that Richard even knew, like, this isn't going to be mainstream, but it's going to be, but we wanted to make sure that Richard had an outlet for that book.
I think I pitched a book once as like FU. I was like, oh, like Below Ambition, maybe like, just put it on FU or something. But you guys were like, no, people will still buy it even though it's shit.
Well, they won't. It was. They won't know it's shit till they've already bought it.
Yeah, got their money.
Well, we knew we could sell more. Like, we knew we could sell enough to make it a mainstream mass market title.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, anything else?
We should wrap it up. Probably there's a few more questions here, but we should probably wrap it up. We should let you go back to work. I got to go back to work. We'll have to go back to work.
If there are any really good questions, I'll answer them. But
no, it's just Cycle Cleveland and Wally Gropius going back and forth.
Let's see. People asking if like movies, like funny pages or even a Clouds movie, helps get people into non-superhero comics. I
don't know. Again, that's a hard metric.
No.
Probably.
Maybe.
Yeah. Uphill battle.
It is an uphill battle, but it's a battle that's worth fighting.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And I have to believe that because I've been doing this for so long. And what I always say is, for every 200 of you bozos, there has to be at least one of me knows how to sell your book for you.
Bozos.
For every there has to be somebody who is willing to get out there and be the voice of cartoonists.
On the Fantagraphics website, it should be like staff and then a bozos section instead of an artist section.
it's just you and me, John. Bozos section,
yeah. All right, we'll wrap this up and see. Okay,
we're doing. You've got me and Josh doing it right now. We got Jacq here. Come on, we don't need any more.
We had Chris Estrada is like a perfect example, like the comedian who was like champion of Love and Rockets. Like, yeah, if we had more of those. But again, like, there are not that many smart, funny people in the world.
Yeah, it's like Patton Oswalt. Sam Bain hasn't. They haven't written anything about Peep Show or like the Joe Matt thing recently. So.
Yeah, they ripped the title. They stole the title from Joe Matt. They should hype him up. Bastards. British bastards, Josh. You have a word with them at the next British Men conference. All right. Hey, thanks for coming on, Jacq. I hope this didn't destroy your career.
This was fun.
Yeah, thanks for coming on, Jacq.
Yeah, thanks for coming on. And it's the first time I can actually say to a guest, "I love you," and I'll see you later on. I'll see you in the rest of the house later on.
Yeah, I'll see you in 10 minutes. Okay.
Yeah, I'll see you soon.
But hey,
you.
Josh,
I love you.
I love you too. Josh, I'll see you next week in Philly.
I'll see you in Philly for the cloud signing. You guys have a great day.
I'm so fucking
Thanks.
jealous. We'll just shut Jacq off, Josh, and we'll proper.